welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Kimberly Schehrer, Teen Breakthrough Expert, and my special guest today is my niece, Alexa Schehrer, and today she'll be talking about homeschooling and her passion for rock climbing and how she's taken that passion to the next level. So first, I'd like to introduce her. Alexa is 14 years old, soon to be 15 years old. She is a competitive indoor rock climber. She founded her own nonprofit. She lives in Colorado, and I'm delighted to have her on the show. So please welcome Alexa Schehrer.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Kimberly. And I'm really excited to be here today.
I'm excited that you're here too. So I'm going to just start off with how have your teen years been?
I can think of a lot of different words to describe them, most of which are all conflicting. So it's been chaotic, it's been peaceful, it's been painful, it's been beautiful. And overall, there's been a lot of life lessons that I've learned that's made me who I am today, even though some of them have been really hard to deal with at the time.
Yeah. I love that. I love your attitude that even with the maybe some painful experiences that you see that there's been some beauty even in those, because they are all of that, the positive and the negative are all contributing to who you've become so far today, right? That's awesome. You've been homeschooled since the first grade. And can you share with us what that experience is like, what you like about it, what you would change about it?
Yeah, so for me, the best part of homeschooling is the freedom, especially as a competitive athlete who trains for national level competitions. Since I train like 6 days a week and 3 to 4 hours at a time, freedom is a really big part of climbing because I need it to be able to train properly. So homeschooling has really given me that because I don't have a set amount of time I have to do schoolwork for. I don't have to do classes at a certain time or anything like that. So it really gives me the freedom that I need to pursue my goals.
That is really, really cool. And you don't have homework, which is really nice.
Exactly. That's a bonus, right? I mean, that's the best part of it.
So is there anything that you miss from a typical high school experience?
Yeah, I read about high school experiences a lot in books, and they always talk about basketball games and the pep rallies and all the groups of friends and fun classes. And I kind of get sad sometimes thinking about that because it's like I'll never be able to have that, and I'll never get to experience that when a lot of people get to experience it. But I also remind myself that that's my choice. I could go to high school if I wanted to, but it's just that homeschooling is a better thing for me for my long-term future and the goals that I choose to pursue. So it's really a combination of feeling sad, kind of thing that I won't experience that, but also, it's a choice and I'm choosing to do what I think is in my best interest for my life.
I love that. And I love the fact that your parents are allowing you to choose, because sometimes as parents, it can be difficult for us to do that with our teens, giving them choice especially with their education. So you mentioned your long-term goals, or that this is in your best interest for your future and where you want to go. What is your vision?
I want to major in business in college, and then I'm hoping to open up my own climbing gym and be the head coach of a climbing team, of a competitive climbing team. So yeah, I wanted to do that since I was 10, and now basically 5 years later, that's still my vision.
Mm-hmm. That is really cool. And so homeschooling is just allowing you to have the time and flexibility to practice a lot of what you need to do in your competitive sport. And that's important because that all contributes to you being a wonderful coach one day to teach others.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's cool. So, how did you get into indoor rock climbing and competition?
Yeah, so my dad was a climber for about 20 years before he was married to my mom and before I was born. So he was always really like excited for me to try climbing. I, on the other hand, was not, and I was, I was not one of those people who was like, I touched the wall, and from the second I touched the wall, I knew that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. So I would go up about like 5 feet on those mini carnivore walls, and then I would just come down because I was either scared or I just didn't like it. And then we were vacationing in Cuenca, Ecuador, and my dad decided to take me to a climbing gym called Cetres because it was only about 10 minutes away and we had nothing better to do. And that gym for the first time was where I got to the top of a wall. And that was where my passion really ignited. And when I got to the top of that wall, that feeling of freedom kind of thing, that feeling of control of the wall kind of, really resonated with me. And I decided that I wanted to pursue that more when I got back to Colorado, even though I already had a passion, which was soccer. But I made up my mind that I was for sure going to pursue climbing more. I just didn't realize what it would lead to.
That's phenomenal, though. I mean, that's amazing. There's a lot of us that sometimes we even get into adulthood and don't realize what our passions are. So for at such a young age, for it to just click like that and for you to discover that is really incredible. Really is. So, and that's neat. Did you feel like here you would only go about 5 feet and that was kind of your usual experiences, and then this time going all the way to the top, that you felt like you, when you speak of control, like there was a mastery over it, like you.
Yeah, for sure. It was kind of like a breakthrough. I think maybe for a long time I'd been sitting on the edge of, being able to go to the top. I
Mhm.
just didn't really like it enough to keep going and keep pursuing that. But then, it completely took me by surprise when it happened. I didn't expect to be able to get to the top of the wall. So then doing that, it also boosted my confidence and made me realize how much I actually loved it.
That's really cool. So speaking of that, because it can be scary, especially initially. So how do you overcome self-doubts? How did you overcome that? Or really, I loved what you said, you kind of got over the edge. What helped you to, or to continue to push yourself and through any doubt or fear that you had then and possibly even now?
There's always going to be a component of self doubt. There's always going to be that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough or you can't do it, even in life. But, every climbing session, your mindset can never be perfect. That's
Mhm.
just going to be impossible to achieve. So even during like a regular climbing session when I'm just climbing with friends or something, there's always that voice that tells me, you're not good enough to do this. Everyone else is better than you, that kind of thing. And I think one of the biggest things you learn as a climber is not to necessarily completely get rid of that voice, but it's just to quiet it down. And so that all your positive thoughts override it and you can't really hear anything else besides the positive thoughts because you've managed to quiet that negative voice down so much.
That's really cool. I love what you said too. You're quieting it down. It's not like you're completely trying to make it go away, because I feel like when we try to force something, it usually just gets louder and it doesn't
Yeah,
work. It's kind of like when you say, don't look in the brown bag. Well, now I want to look in the brown bag because,
exactly.
right? So I love that. So you kind of acknowledge the self-doubt, it's there, but then what, you're practicing more of a positive mindset to kind of override that, right? Is that what?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And so how do you work with your mindset? Like, what are some things that you do? You just practice positive affirmations? How do you get into more of the positive mindset, especially when that inner critic is right there?
Yeah, so I actually went through a period of my climbing last year where I was being super negative about myself. There was basically nothing in my mind anymore except self-doubt. I didn't think I could do anything. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was a good climber. And, that really took a toll on my climbing. Because climbing is all about self-trust and self-belief. So without that, you know, I want to say the mental part of climbing is kind of like the glue. Without that, everything else falls apart. So I had to really work to try and get myself out of that mindset because, that wasn't who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be the super negative person or anything like that. So what I did is I watched a bunch of TED Talks and I read a lot of inspirational books and books about confidence and books about vulnerability. Um, and I made lists of positive affirmations, as you said, and those all really helped me. But it also doesn't happen overnight at all. It took me probably at least a few months to get back to the headspace that I had been in the first place. So it requires a lot of commitment to be able to get yourself back out of that, that kind of negative mental mindset. So yeah, you just need to work at it, and it will happen.
Mhm.
And it's worth all the effort that you have to put into it. So
That's awesome. And what I'm hearing you say too is really changing your inner game changes the outer game. And it does take work, it takes
yeah,
practice. And I know I kind of think of the analogy of like a train going down its normal track because that's what we believed based upon our experiences, or we have all this evidence to our story as to why we can't do it or we're not good enough. And
exactly.
we're just used to that. So that's where the mind goes down that track. But as you begin to build another track, if you will, of more of a positive mindset, then you kind of have now a fork in the road and you can choose. You're more aware of choosing. And the train's still going to want to go on that track that's familiar. So it does take work and practice to make the train go down the new track that you're forming. But over time, that new track will become just as habitual as the old track. And maybe even, um, the old track kind of disappears more and more and more. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get away from self-doubt, especially with new experiences. It's just human nature, but we can help our minds, but through practice and the inner work of really going down that new track of positive thinking. And it does make a difference when we believe in ourselves. It, to me, I feel like that's 99% of us getting the results that we want, but it's hard.
Yeah, I think in climbing they say it's 60% mental, 40% physical.
Mhm.
It's a fair amount more mental than physical in terms of getting good results.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important. So yeah, I do. I think it's mindset because if you have this, you can have the skills or learn the skills, but if you still don't believe in yourself, you're not going to really apply it to the best of your ability. But if you have the skills and the mindset, that combination, then you can do it, and you will.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of people think it's really easy to change your mindset. Like, a lot of people think that, I could just start believing in myself, and then everything would be fixed kind of thing. But in truth, it was me deconstructing an entire belief system that I built for myself and that I created for myself and that I learned to rely on,
Mhm.
because the negative mental mindset almost became a safe place.
Yes.
It was a place of comfort, even though it was really dark kind of thing, which is really weird to think about. But
Mhm.
that's kind of how it is. And so, it takes a lot of work to be able to get yourself out of a mindset like that.
It does. It does. And I loved what you said. It's a place of comfort because it's what's familiar.
Yeah,
And again,
exactly. Like
that's
it comes to a point where that's all you can remember that you've ever believed.
that's right. That's right. So, but that's awesome. So you overcame that, and
Yeah.
still, I'm sure it still takes some practice, but you got yourself out of that comfort zone, out of the negative familiar,
into the daylight.
Yeah, woo, yay. Awesome. So so it just clicked for you then, just that rock climbing was it, and that it just um was your passion. I mean, once you got to the top that one time, it was like that that was it. You
Yeah, and then I came back to Colorado and I signed up for like classes at the rec center, for beginners because obviously I was just starting out. And then my dad would take me over to this gym down in Boulder called Boulder Rock Club, and I would often watch the team practice, like the competitive team,
Mhm.
and I'd be like, oh, I want to be on that team. I want to do that.
Mhm.
And since I'd been doing soccer for almost like 5 years at that point, I had originally decided that soccer was going to be my career, and that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. But then, especially when I saw the kids on the climbing team, that's when I was kind of like, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do with my life.
Wow, that is really, really cool. So you were inspired by them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. So what else do I want to ask you about the rock climbing? Um, how do you have any tips? I mean, I hear what you're saying about the mindset. Do you have anything specific that could help others to build their confidence? Because I know with myself years ago, your dad took me into an indoor climbing gym. And I remember I actually made it to the top, and you ring the bell and you feel really
Was
good.
he really proud of you?
Yeah, he was. He actually was surprised.
That says a lot.
Yeah, I know. And then it was really cool because after that, he was going to take me out for a cookie. I remember that. And my, vision of a cookie was a big, gooey chocolate chip cookie. And we ended up going to a store and he bought us 2 Cliff Bars. That is not what I think is a cookie. So
So
he's
that's like the main memory you have of climbing. That's what you
yes,
associate climbing with now.
that's right. That's
Is Yeah, okay.
it was not reinforcing. You need to tell your dad that. No, but now, like when I go indoor rock climbing with my daughter, to be honest, I haven't made it up even, I mean, a beginning wall yet, yes, but I I don't make it all the way to the top at like just a level just above beginning, um, because my confidence isn't there. So any tips? I get what you're saying about mindset, but it is difficult. But I think you mentioned trust.
Yeah, trust is definitely a huge component of the sport. And
Mhm,
it's one of the first things you have to learn to be a competitive climber is to trust yourself.
mhm,
Um, so, but also I think for a beginner climber, the mental headspace isn't as big as a component
mhm,
because, you just have to learn to physically trust yourself, to trust the movement, to trust the rock, to trust your hands, that you're
mhm,
not going to let go, that your foot's not going to slip, that kind of thing,
mhm,
more than mental trust. Mental trust is more for competitive climbers. I mean, obviously, mental trust is a huge component
mhm,
for, adult climbers who aren't necessarily like competitors. But I'd say for beginners, just get a lot of practice in
mhm.
and get yourself really familiar with the movement and how holds feel and texture of the wall, even just the simplest things gets your brain more used to everything,
Mhm.
ultimately makes you more comfortable with being able to go higher for longer or something like that. So I'd say just a lot of exposure and a lot of experience to it would really be helpful.
Yeah, that is important because that is how we build trust is through the experience and also learning more of the skills. And I did think of that about taking a class because I do think that would help me get over that,
Yeah.
and help me with the skills so
It's
that
also a lot nicer to be in a supportive environment, like, in a class, like with other people who are in the same boat as you, who are also overcoming fears and stuff like that.
so I'd be in a class with about 5-year-olds if we go that route.
Okay, well, you know what I mean.
I do. And I think that's a really good point because having support really is significant. It really is. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength, and supporting one another, encouraging one another in addition to the skills. And then it just builds. And then you're right. Then you can go a little bit further and then more of the mindset comes in, right?
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, I love that. So, with the rock climbing, you founded your own nonprofit called One Global Climb. So, tell us what inspired you to, to develop this nonprofit, and yeah, and where that desire came from.
Traveling a lot around the world kind of opened your eyes to new perspectives of new countries and perspectives that you wouldn't really have considered before, living in America at least.
Mhm,
So it really helps you also appreciate what you have here.
mhm.
But being able to have all those hundreds of new perspectives, and also just having a passion for climbing, really, like those two combined together, really created me wanting to help other people all over the world, introduce them to something that, has been so vital for me.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I love that because you're taking your passion and then you had this vision to want to be able to help others around the world to be able to have this climbing experience and possibly explore whether or not it's their passion. And you're really opening a door through your nonprofit for others to be able to at least try it out and explore and see if it's for them. Whereas without your nonprofit, they may not have been able to do that. So,
Yeah, like some families can't afford, gym memberships or shoes or the right equipment for their kids to
mhm,
be able to climb. So One Global Climb helps raise money for those families and get kids shoes and equipment that they need to be able to discover, if they like climbing, and if they do, to be able to pursue it maybe for the rest of their life even.
that's right. And that's a huge impact to have that, to make that kind of difference in the world. So I want to thank you for that, honestly, because that, and at 14 you did this, right? Was or it you did it a
Was
year?
that, well, I mean, technically it was when I was 13 because it was like a
Yeah,
year ago that I found it.
that's
So
even more incredible, I think. I mean, that's just awesome. And I love the fact that you're so grateful for what you have, and for you being able to climb and your passions and all of that, and having the freedom of choice. But you didn't stop there. It's like you want to give and contribute to the world. And to me, at such a young age, for you to have that, speaking of mindset, is is really remarkable. It really is. So um,
thanks.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. So do you have any life lessons or tips for teens, from a teen to a teen?
Yeah, one of the biggest things I've learned is that if you find something or someone you love, you hold on to that and you don't let that go. And if that ever starts slipping out of your grasp, or you start losing that, you fight for that. You fight for the things you love. You fight for the things that give you a reason to wake up in the morning. And you fight for the things that teach you love and help you understand what friendship is and stuff like that. Because those things are so beautiful and they're so rare. And if you can hold on to that, it can make all the difference in your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it can. And again, I think having that love and fighting for it and holding on to it and really having gratitude for it, that's part of what encourages us. What That's part of the support is that love, whether it's for a sport or if it's with a person, whatever it is, and just really treasuring and cherishing that, I think is what I'm hearing you.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. And I love the fact that you said that's what helps to make you want to wake up in the morning and gives you uh
It gives you life.
it gives you what?
It gives you life.
Gives you life. Right, right. And what about when you're having a hard day or you wake up and you're not feeling the greatest? So if you take what you're saying and remembering what it is that we love, or these things that we really appreciate that are in our life, that maybe it doesn't take all the sadness away, but it helps to spin it a little bit, maybe make you feel a little bit better. Or
Yeah, and also you can think about, I'm still living for the next time I get to do this thing, or for the next time I get to see this person, kind of thing.
I
You
love
know?
that. So it gives you kind of almost, for lack of a better word, a vision or a goal, or
Or
um,
almost like a purpose.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, it gives you a purpose.
Gives you a purpose, right? And I think that's really important, because when we have a vision, that kind of ties into having our purpose and keeps us going even through adversity, right?
Yeah, especially if it's a long-term goal too.
Yeah, yeah. What are some short-term goals that you have?
Short-term goals. Survive the summer with nothing to do. Um, it's I don't know, because a lot of the goals, like, I had a goal to like get to nationals this year, but because of COVID, a lot of the stuff's been canceled. So
Right.
I mean, it's yeah, there's kind of nothing to aim for, which one thing that's really hard about the whole COVID thing,
Mhm.
that you don't really know when the end is gonna come,
That's true. That's
or
true.
you don't really know what you're aiming for. There's nothing to really look forward to, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Really good point. And I think a lot of us, adults and teens and kids, all of us, it's just that uncertainty. And with the uncertainty, we feel like we don't have control, because we don't know what's going to happen, and we can't plan for it because we don't know. So
yeah, exactly.
it's like we're in limbo, and that's a hard place to be in, for sure. So, but it will end, right?
Yeah, it also really makes you realize that just having a life isn't enough.
Mm,
It's what you do with your life that's really what matters, kind of thing.
wow, that was very, very deep, and I would definitely agree with that. That's a really good point. So thank you for
Yeah.
adding. That's good. That was good. So, if people want to connect with you, learn more about your nonprofit, even possibly donate, so kids across the world could explore rock climbing, how can listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, so people can email me at oneglobalclimb@gmail.com to learn more about One Global Climb, what our mission is, how you can support us. And also people can just email me there if they want to talk to me about anything, because I'm always ready to listen.
Ah, sweet. And listening counts for a lot. And especially having someone here, what do I say, present, especially at a time, like you say, with the summer. And there's a lot going on, a lot of different emotions, a lot of different thoughts, and a lot of boredom. So
I know, I was gonna say, even if people are just bored, I'm bored too. So I mean,
bring it on, right?
exactly.
That is awesome. So, well, thank you, Alexa, for being here and sharing your insights, your perspectives, and um, your experiences. So it certainly has enlightened me, honestly. So you're just a joy.
Yeah, thank you so much for choosing me to be on the show. I really had a good time.
Ah, you're awesome. So, listeners, please stay tuned for the show next week. I will have Fabian Edu, who is a retired U.S. military officer and a dad, and he will be speaking about purpose and resilience. So, it kind of, uh, when I say we'll explore that, we kind of touched upon that today, actually, with you, Alexa. So it's right in alignment with that. So we're going to carry that theme next week. And again, thank you.